Nice. Anyway, so we have new scenes here. So first of all, in README, we have a new section, which is telling us about Redis cluster. So, yay. So if you declare, because Redis is not completely free, free only for limited amount of time, right? It's like somewhat a trial version. So we put it under the flag for now. So if you defined the Redis node type variable, the Redis cluster will be provisioned for your application, and then a set of variables will be exposed to your application. Now, if we look at my Rails application here, it has Redis node type defined as a cache to micro, and this application uses Redis for cache storage and also for sessions, and it basically uses default Rails configuration using environment Redis URL, and environment variable Redis URL is provided to you by 5-minute production app after you define Redis node type. So if you look at our application running, we can see that it runs active support Redis cache store. So this is the first good thing. Now, because I work a lot with Rails in this project, and Rails has some difference between environments and has this all these cool features like active storage and everything, I created a separate section in examples explaining how to achieve different results if you're trying to deploy Ruby on Rails application with 5-minute production app. So this mentions master key for decrypt credentials. It mentions how your db migrate command should be different if you have a Docker file, if you don't have a Docker file, if you want to run environment in like a production environment by default, that you need to have assets compile if you run it in production. And the last one is active storage. So it appears that using active storage with 5-minute production app is just a matter of following a Rails documentation. And after that, simply adding this section to the config storage YAML, which basically said like, hey, use this environmental variables that 5-minute production apps give you for S3. And the demo I have run here, it uses actually active storage Amazon, so use S3 that that is deployed by 5-minute production app. So this app using Rails active storage feature. And additional to that, I added a few more screenshots. I figured that like, okay, the usage in 3 steps is nice, but I feel like there is like so much better to see screenshot of what the end result should be. So I added like a few screenshots of how your variable section should look like, how you actually applied this 5-minute production app template, and the end result, like, well, what you get in the end in a way of actually seeing the pipeline with 3 steps deployed.
Yeah, that's great, making it visual. That really helps.
Yep, thank you for feedback. I think that's it on my side for today. So let's follow what next on the agenda.
Yeah, maybe keep sharing your screen and maybe we can go into the Rails example. I think it's super great you added it, and I totally understand that we first added bare bones and then we make it better. But maybe we can go point by point through it. Are you open to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
What is this master key? Like, find your master key. Where do I find it? What is...
So yeah, it's a relatively new thing. It's like starting with Rails 5.2. I'm not mistaken. So now you want to push your credentials encrypted to the repository, right? You don't want to expose your credentials. So your credentials are encrypted on your machine locally and then pushed to the repository. And then
why would we have any credentials locally? Why don't we just put them in GitLab environmental variables?
We can, and we do. And this is like, this is how to, because Rails would check for Rails master key availability when you, for example, run some rake task, right?
Cool.
And it will fail because it wouldn't be able to find this master key. So even if your config credential YAML, if I open it locally on my machine, it's basically empty file. There is nothing there because I use all
but
the
but you still need the master key. Cool.
Yep. So I think people might have other services there. So if they want to, I don't know, like let's say some whatever, not email, but maybe, I don't know, like some social networking or some other like third-party service.
It makes sense. Like either we disable it or we add it, and then let's add it so that everything just works. So Sri, would you be okay with like in this sentence, that first sentence, like master key, that should probably link to the documentation of Rails, and find your master key should like deep link to a paragraph where you can find it on your file system or something like that?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, just Sri, just create an issue quickly, write and assign to me. I have a lot of visits to Rails documentation lately, so it's just a matter of filling the links.
Cool, thanks, Dimitri. And then maybe that database, Mike.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
So you have a Docker file. If you have a Docker file, then add next line. Okay. If you have a Docker file, if you don't have a Docker file, your container is built with Heroku-ish, so the database migration might be different. Oh, okay. So it's about the command that you execute.
Yeah. So usually everyone else will just write this down. It's regular commands that you run locally every day as a Rails developer, and you logically put this one into the variables. But if you just use auto build, it's because of
I think the instructions are great. I would add one sentence beforehand and say the command to migrate your database depends on whether you're using a Docker file or Heroku-ish.
Yeah, I agree. Just note it down in the Google Doc. I will add it.
Cool. In a production environment, for production environment, add next line. Oh yeah, that makes sense because you got to set that Rails variable.
Yeah, other than that, like the thing is, if you can run it in development, I saw a lot of people using even after DevOps and have their applications there as a containers running in development mode because people didn't realize that, yeah, Rails will boot by default in development. So it will work in development anyway, but at a certain point you would want to, like level up the game, so you want a production environment. So you would need to define it explicitly.
Cool, that's cool. And then like things like your assets pre-compiled and just follow the Rails documentation. Those should probably be also links to the docs. But this is. Are you gonna?
I figure I keep this assets compiled true thing because it's a helpful, easy way. Like if you go through the documentation,
totally inline that. Like it's so much better if I don't have to open another doc. And then we're still going to add something for the email that's not ready yet.
Yeah, we need to add instruction how to move away from sandbox. And we need to move. Oh yeah, we need to move. To add instruction here for how to actually enable SMTP with Rails. So this is a good one. I also need to do it.
It's kind of a miracle that people all over the world are figuring all of this out without the 5-minute production app. It's so much work.
Yeah.
Cool. And you said Redis, like you pay by the minute and it's free for a limited time. I think that applies to everything else too. Is Redis something different? Is it
No.
more expensive or something? Is it different than an EC2 instance in the free tier?
Redis is free for first, I don't know how many months, and then you pay for it. And the free tier means that up to certain usage, it's free. So I can use EC2 for 10 years, and if it doesn't, doesn't grow above like micro instance, then I don't pay for it.
Cool. Always free, 12 months free. Okay,
Yeah.
that's different. So
Yeah.
So for EC2, it says 12 months free. And for Elasticache, it says 12 months free. So it looks like to be exactly the same as EC2 to me. So here, notice the 750 hours and 12 months free. And if you now Google, search for Elasticache.
Why I thought that it's like always 750 hours free per month, no matter it's like if it's first 12 months or not. But yeah, okay. So it seems like the free tier, like this 750 hours will be gone after 1 year, right?
Yeah, it's per month, 750 hours per month, which is probably the number of hours in a month or something.
So my question is like, this is free tier for 1 month, and this is a second condition. The 750
it's just
hours
free for 1 year. They have
Yeah.
a really strange thing. There's less than 750 hours in a month, so you have enough hours in a month. They just wanted to show huge digits to make it impressive, and they do. But it's just free for a year, just like Redis. So I say we treat Redis the same and just enable it.
Yeah, then it makes sense. Because I was like totally missing this thing. I was like, okay, they have 750 hours per month. So if you run T2 micro, EC2 instance, you would like have it forever for free, That was my thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense. But they're limited to 12 months because otherwise you kind of get the problems that Heroku, for example, also had, where you run like people just keep their application running for years, even though they don't use it, and you keep paying for it.
Okay, so we need to change that. In this case, we'll just, we enable Redis by default because it's 12 months anyway. It makes no sense to
put it
behind variable. Yeah, I just hope someone documented all that. Okay. Yeah, I think we're done with README, right? Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, okay.
Cool. Yeah, I had a couple of things. North Flank was an interesting project. There's also a live stream on it. 3 is a bad idea of me because then we have to deal with abuse and all those things, and that costs a lot of money. I've heard, and you can see in the doc, but maybe not verbally, I've heard that if you ask Let's Encrypt nicely, they will increase the rate limits for certain domains. So as our own dynamic DNS provider gets more certificate requests, we can maybe ask Let's Encrypt. Yeah. 5 is something that was that we saw on vantage.sh, kind of a cool way to create the credentials. Sri looked into it. Sri, what did you make of it?
Hey, yeah, I looked into it, and more importantly, spoke to solutions architect from AWS just prior to this call. Vantage uses CloudFormation deep linking as a way to overcome the lack of OAuth 2. So the good thing we found out is that it's not. So this at first seemed like a hack, right? Because CloudFormation is not meant for this. But I learned from the AWS SA that this is a common pattern that many AWS partners use, including Datadog. So while our solutions architect from AWS will look into OAuth 2 overall, he's not sure if there is like a clear way of using it available, but he confirmed that CloudFormation deep linking is a commonly used pattern and it's something that we can pursue.
Cool. Let's do it. Darby, you had question number 6.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess just trying to get a understanding of what comes next after the end of this quarter. We're wrapping up Q4, and my original understanding was this was kind of a 1-quarter sprint. Not sure if we have kind of stated goals for Q1 or if people are moving on to other projects. So I wanted to get an understanding of that so I can bring that into the discussion with the development team.
Yeah, great question. I'm not sure how Dimitri's feeling. I feel like this is shaping up really nicely, and it's something I would want as a developer. So maybe Dimitri wants to keep working on it. For Sri, I think it's time. The agreement was this was for a limited time, but also want to hear from Sri what he's thinking.
Yeah. So 3 ends in 10 days. And my thinking was like, I don't want to work on this AWS login button or something like this. I think it's a much better fit for GitLab as a company to work on it. Like, using a regular designers front end and everyone else to do it. Like, it's pretty much a deeply GitLab integrated feature. So I don't feel like, my solo developer experience would be good there. So based on that, I defined it like, a scope of this thing to like actually make everything from once you put the credentials in to your application running be great. And I think up to you like to judge, but I think it's on final stage, it's like working really well for me at least. So I want to actually, like make some final touches for next, I don't know, few weeks, like fix up README documentation and everything, and just either pass it by to other team, other group, or just switch to the maintenance level and focus on something else while keeping this alive. And while there is a team to pick it under their wing.
Cool. Sri?
Yeah, so DZ and I spoke about this yesterday or day before. I've got roughly 10 days left, and the expectation from the customer success organization is that I go back as per the agreement, which is something I'm willing to do and happy to do.
Cool. Yeah. So I think, Sri, what I would put your focus on the CloudFormation template, getting that to work before the quarter is over, if that's okay with you.
It is okay with me, but I think it's a bit. I don't think I can do it in the next week because there are a few moving parts there. One of the requirements of the CloudFormation deep linking is that there is a webhook or a service listening to the post back from this deep link. And that should go inside the main GitLab source code. So this should be a webhook in the GitLab application.
Okay. I think
so
make it run your own GitLab server, hack the code, and make it working, and then you don't have to wait for something to get into production.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry, but we need to. There are a few things that are really like we need to do because like relative to 3 expertise, and that's refactor Terraform code a bit to like improve the networking right now, because they're like EC2, Postgres, and everything should work in one like private network and not be accessible from outside, and be more secure from that perspective. So I want to use knowledge of Terraform AWS to actually fix what he's good at, and like, you know, make this like more I don't know, not more safe, more secure before trying out like, you know, more features, more stuff.
Okay. Well, Dimitri, you're in the lead, so let's do that. And then Sri, if you run out of time in the CloudFormation stuff, make sure there's a good write-up of what's next. Like, make sure that a new developer can come in and build that and knows what to do. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a plan. Like, we should document as much as possible, and for anyone who will proceed with CloudFormation.
Okay, thanks for the detail there. I will I'll set up some time to chat with both DZ and Sri, probably like later next week maybe, and just get kind of a wrap up there, and links to all the issues that we need to keep track of, and things like that, and just make sure that I have a good picture of everything that we're kind of handing off, and then I'll work with the development team to figure out where this is going to land over there. Cool, thanks.
Thanks. Can we maybe? Oh, I'll do 8 before 7. We should probably get some metrics of usage, figure out whether people are already using this or not. Maybe use production analytics or something like that to get an idea. What do you think, Dimitri?
Yeah, I'm up for metrics. That's the most logical thing. Like, after, yeah, like basically feature-wise, we are ready. 3 will refactor networks, so it's more secure. And after that, it's a matter of just figuring out in CloudFormation while actually measuring how people use it.
Yeah, maybe instead of production analytics, maybe we can use what's already in GitLab for the usage ping, and add a counter for that.
What about the production analytics features that we were building in GitLab?
Yes, I like that to exist, but no one else wants that to exist. So people made it alpha, and it's not in the real database, and it can be removed, and it's rate limited. And if it's rate limited, you don't know that it's rate limited. So it will show super low numbers, even though people are actually using it. So
time check, we're at time.
I think maybe use the same thing that everyone else is using, the usage ping for now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find someone who can help me with that.
Cool. And then 7 I'll shelve for the next time, but I want to explore really ugly things to have less configuration for people. So make it even more automatic. Maybe generate an automatic merge request to change the Rails configuration or something like that. But that's
it's I did a lot of them, like example projects with other languages, and I must say that Rails become quite complicated in the last few years because it's very different between development environment, production environment, like how much things are required and so on. So yeah, we can simplify things for Rails, but I feel like if someone just uses something else, right, they have either a great experience because their framework is not as complicated as Rails, or they have still a painful experience because their Java 10 years old or 50 years old framework is crazy complicated and live on hundreds of environmental variables and configurations. So the experience of different users will vary, depends on what framework and language they're going to use.
Cool. Maybe it's good to first like add another example for Node or anything else, and then look at how that looks, and before we pull the trigger on this. So that works for me.
Yeah, I hope just people extend it while, like, I don't know, while people try it. They submit the documentation extended with such hooks. I know Rails, so I put it as much in Rails as I can. Like this, half of this is not necessary if I just run Rails in development without, without caching or migrations or anything like that, right? So.
Yeah, maybe we can add a few example placeholders where you kind of name the projects you'd really love to see. And so we'd really love to see this, and like, please contact me via email or something like that if you're open to contributing this.
So basically encourage people to add more frameworks, languages, or an example.
Yeah, explicitly ask for a few frameworks.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Yep.
Bye.